This mysterious story happened at the beginning of 2020. 16-year-old Native American Selena Shelley Faye disappeared under mysterious circumstances, but solving the case only made it more confusing. Even though the police have completed their investigation, the case remains one of the most mysterious in recent years. In this video, we will tell you the terrible story of Selena Shelley Faye and try to answer the main question: did the police really solve the case, or did they hide what really happened to her? Native American Selena Shelley Faye was born on June 18, 2003 on the Bighorn County Indian Reservation, Montana, in a town called Hardin. Friends described her as a good-living, joyful, and very active girl. She loved to play basketball and had many friends, but her main hobby was horse riding. Selena was seriously thinking about opening her own farm after graduating from school, and also participating in horse racing at a professional level. She maintained a positive attitude even through the series of terrible tragedies that her family had to go through. Initially, the family had 5 children. In 2014, Selena's 11-year-old twin sister committed suicide, without leaving even a hint of what prompted her to take such a tragic step. In 2017, Selena's brother died at the hands of a police officer, and in the same year, Selena's older sister died under the wheels of a car. She was walking along the road when an unknown driver hit her and fled. Thus, out of 5 children, only 2 remained. It's hard to believe how much pain and suffering one family can endure. Unfortunately, the tragedies in their lives did not end there. Selena spent New Year's Eve 2020 with friends. They went to a party in a country house, where they stayed until the next day. On January 1, Selena and 5 of her friends, including 4 boys and 1 girl, drove back to Hardin by car. Next, the story becomes, to put it mildly, strange. However, this is official data from the case file, and first we will take a look at it. So, on the way to the city, problems arose with the car. The driver parked at the nearest stop and tried to control the car. He was able to temporarily fix the problem, but said the machine could break down again at any moment. For this reason, he asked Selena and her friend Orlando to wait at the stop until his mother came there and picked them up, since she was a little less than 15 minutes away by car from the stop. The story sounds extremely dubious. Why did the girls' friends decide to drive on, leaving them at a bus stop in the middle of nowhere? But that's exactly how it was according to the driver. There is also a version that after fixing the car, the driver had to immediately move away, otherwise the car risked stalling again. And Selena's friend at that time moved too far away, and the guys decided to leave without them, sending their mother of one for them of them. But this version is not reflected in police documents, but is only cited by local media. What follows is actually confirmed information. The driver's mother actually came to that stop to pick up the girls, but they were no longer there. Thinking that they could be walking somewhere nearby, the woman began to look for them. At some point, she came across Orlando, who was sitting in a ditch looking lost. Her shoes were missing, and her legs were covered in scratches. Selena was not around. The shocked woman tried to find out from Orlando what had happened, but she stated that she had absolutely no memory of how she got here and did not even understand where she was. Then the woman contacted Selena's parents, told them about her disappearance, and they immediately contacted the police. The first thing the police did was talk to Orlando. She still could not remember the details of what happened. She only told the detectives that she saw Selena simply walk away from the road into a field, and her friend did not see her again. Having heard this story, Selena's parents could not understand why their daughter could go somewhere unknown for no apparent reason. The problem was that the temperature outside was low, and the girl was clearly not dressed for the weather. She was wearing a light jacket, sweater, and jeans. I think you already understand how strange this whole story is, but this is just the beginning. On the same day, the police organized a large-scale search within a radius of about 6 kilometers from the place where the girl was last seen. Hundreds of people took part in them, including sniffer dogs, mounted police, helicopters, ATVs, and even drones with heat sensors. The FBI also quickly became involved in the case. Perhaps this matter has reached such proportions because of the sad statistics. In Montana, Native Americans go missing at a much higher rate than other populations. Most often, the police investigate these cases as reluctantly as possible, and sometimes refuse to deal with them at all. Local residents regularly protest and try to reach out to the federal government, but indigenous people continue to disappear. In addition, Selena's relatives immediately turned to the news publication for help in order to give this story publicity and speed up the work of the police. The news of Selena's disappearance quickly spread throughout the city, and hundreds of volunteers joined the search for her. Most of them were also Native American, including students at her school. Adults helped comb the area, and teenagers posted flyers and spread information about the disappearance of their classmate throughout the city. But the search did not yield any results. Of course, the police examined the car in which Selena and her friends were driving home. She also interrogated all her friends who were with her that day. And here, everything is no less strange. Investigators have not released any information related to this. Perhaps their friends did not tell them anything useful, but the public was waiting for at least some details. Then the police decided to work on another version. What if Selena was kidnapped near a bus stop? This theory contradicted the story of a friend who claimed that Selena went into the field. But the version of the abduction also received some support. A witness reported seeing a green car with Wyoming license plates near the stop. The search did not bring any results, so most people began to consider the abduction version as the main one. Then the police received reports that people had seen the girl in different places. But all these tips turned out to be useless. The police reviewed surveillance footage from the places where Selena was allegedly seen, and she was not there. The police also tried to track the location of the girl's smartphone, but they were unable to do so. It turned out to be turned off. In such ignorance, the investigation continued until January 20. On this day, 3 weeks after Selena's disappearance, the most mysterious event in this whole story occurred. The girl's body was finally found. And where do you think she was all this time? Her body was found just a kilometer from the same bus stop. The body was discovered by the Bighorn County Sheriff, who went by the Indian name Big Hair. Let's refresh our memory on the key points. Hundreds of volunteers on foot, dozens of horse riders, sniffer dogs, a helicopter, drones with heat sensors, and a search radius of about 6 kilometers. Despite all this, the body is found a kilometer from the stop. At this point, everyone had one question. How could they not notice? Of special note is the fact that the place where Selena was found is an almost bare field. The Bighorn County Sheriff's Office said the death was believed to be due to natural causes. On February 28, more than a month after the body was discovered, the results of the medical examination came back. The report, signed by 4 doctors, named the cause of death as hypothermia. All this raised even more questions and mistrust from the public. Not only did the search teams fail to find Selena in an open field for 20 days, but she also allegedly died of hypothermia a kilometer from the road. Let's take a look at what the temperature was that day. According to a local news site that publishes daily weather information, it was about 8 degrees outside on January 1st. Selena was wearing a light jacket and sweater. Although this was not enough for a long and comfortable stay on the street. How could a healthy 16-year-old girl freeze to death? After all, just a kilometer away from her there was a highway where cars regularly passed, and it was possible to ask for help. How events should have developed so that the girl consciously waited for her death in one place and managed to freeze at 8 degrees Celsius. Of course, all these questions rained down on the police. Investigators said the drones and helicopter were hampered by poor visibility that day due to heavy fog. But the foot and other detachments simply did not notice Selena, although they passed several hundred meters from her. As for the dogs, they were service dogs, but not search dogs. In addition, they were kept on a leash because many strangers took part in the search, and the police were afraid to release the dogs so that they would not attack those present. Selena's family, as well as the entire Native American community, found these justifications completely unconvincing, and they demanded a thorough investigation into her murder. To them, it looked as if the girl's body had been placed in this place after the end of the first wave of searches. But there is one problem. The Bighorn County Sheriff, who led the police on this case and personally discovered Selena's body, has a very murky history behind him. In 1995, when he was still a simple officer, a Native American woman accused him of violence, but the man denied the accusation and was not convicted. 2 years later, his service weapon was used in a murder, and the future sheriff was put on trial again. There he stated that his weapon was stolen, and he had nothing to do with the case. All charges were again dropped. But here's what's strange. He paid the victim's family part of the amount they demanded in the lawsuit. Later he was again put on trial for assault, but even here he did not receive any serious punishment. Not surprisingly, the community was in no hurry to take this man at his word. Despite the FBI's participation in the case, Selena's relatives and acquaintances began to suspect that the sheriff himself may have something to do with the girl's murder and the further concealment of this fact. But here another question arises. Even if we imagine that on that day the sheriff grabbed Selena and took her to an unknown place, what next? 4 medical experts signed a report that clearly stated that there were no traces on the girl's body indicating a violent death. They could only confirm death from hypothermia. Considering the FBI's involvement, could the sheriff have forced the 4 doctors to hide something? Or he kept Selena outside until she actually died from hypothermia? This sounds doubtful. There is another version of what happened. The teenagers were drinking on New Year's Eve, according to the initial toxicology report. But no one knows what they did the next day. Perhaps they continued to drink or took some illegal substances. As for alcohol, it is unlikely to have anything to do with the case. A person needs to drink a lot just to go into a field, lie down on the ground, and lie there long enough to die from hypothermia. Even if we take into account the fact that Selena was only 16 years old, this theory is somehow hard to believe. But the version of prohibited substances could explain a lot. First, let's remember Selena's friend, who was sitting in a ditch without shoes, with scratched feet. Then let us remember the extremely strange story about a car breaking down, and the incomprehensible reasons why the boys left the girls at an empty bus stop. Perhaps the teens actually accepted something, but for the organisms of 2 girls, this became too much. The guys could get scared and just leave them at the bus stop. But this theory is seriously undermined by the fact that the driver actually called his mother, who arrived to pick up the girls literally 15 minutes later. Would he have done this if the girls were in an inadequate state? Most likely, teenagers would not involve their parents in such a situation. But there are a few strange things about their company. First, Selena's friend posted several short videos from that trip on Snapchat. At one point, someone is seen standing in front of the open hood of a car and trying to manipulate something. At the same time, near the rear passenger seat, 2 guys are aggressively arguing about something. What happened there is still unknown. All the people who were with Selena that day are silent. Moreover, 2 of them moved to other states. Orlando deleted her Facebook page. This is all very strange. More than 2 years have passed, and none of them have answered the questions that still trouble the local Native American community and other concerned people. Police also have no comment about the other teenagers. There is so much impression that something is being carefully hidden in this story. As a result, we have closed cases where the official version seems too dubious. After all, according to her, Selena just went into the field, walked for several hours, and then simply lay down on the ground. After all, a few hours later the police were already on the scene, and if she had continued to walk around, she would definitely have been noticed. Further, hundreds of people with modern technology could not find her. and after 20 days her body appeared a kilometer from the road. Everything looks like it was placed in this place after the active search phase had ended. Although the police claimed that there were no wheel marks or other evidence that the body could have been moved near this place. But can the police be trusted in this case? Given the sheriff's history, you begin to seriously doubt that the police investigation can be considered objective. However, the FBI was also involved in the case, which certainly would not have covered up some provincial sheriff. As we see, each version faces its own contradictions. Now, 2 years later, the girl's family is still trying to find answers. Out of 5 children, they only had 1 son. They ask that the story about their daughter be spread so that they have a chance for a new, honest investigation.